gracious hosts, unique lodging, and tasty cuisine. New Mexico bed and breakfasts are New Mexico true. Our innkeepers are as special as New Mexico, and we're sharing their stories. Read about them and plan your trip at nmbba.org. Hey, everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's second Thursday New Mexico show, where we talk about travel, food, events, lodgings, and more with innkeepers who all belong to the New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association, which we love because really, when you go to stay in a place that is the land of enchantment and is known as New Mexico True, you better stay in a bed and breakfast because it is going to be an authentic experience. And so you can go to the website nmbba.org. That stands for New Mexico Bed and Breakfast Association. So nmbba.org. And of course, keep up with us at bigblendradio.com. Today, we're excited. You know, fall is in the air. And we're going to talk about New Mexico, but we're going to talk about fall flavors in New Mexico. What do you want to eat and drink in New Mexico during the fall? And I start thinking about squash. Of course, we're going to think about chilies. Some margaritas may be changing up.
Ooh,
There's going to be so, I know, I was just thinking, and then I was thinking about all the food. I mean, I'm thinking empanadas. I don't know. There's just so much food to eat and enjoy and savor in New Mexico. But this is going to be one of those really dangerous podcasts. So we've got two special guests joining us. We've got Kathy Hiatt. We know Kathy. Kathy and her husband Steve put up with us for a few days when we went to Albuquerque. It was a year and a half. I can't keep up, but yeah, was it a year ago, Kathy? Welcome back, Kathy. Was it a year?
It's been a while.
It's 2 years.
And it has been
oh my
year,
gosh,
hasn't it? Yeah,
it's been 2 years. Yeah,
2 years.
I think. I don't, but anyway, we were there at Bodker Mansion of Old Town Albuquerque, New Mexico. So we're talking central New Mexico, a historic inn right off Route 66. You can see it from the Route 66 room. And this inn has great history. So I encourage you to go to the website. It is Bottger.com. That's Bottger. I'm just proving I can spell. So welcome back, Kathy. It is good to have you back on the show.
All right, it's great to be here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about food. This is going to be fun. I'm already
my favorite subject.
I know, but of course, I'm going to have to hit you up on some of the history of the inn because there's just so much connected. I mean, the inn's history. I want to write a book about it. It's fascinating, all the people that have come through the inn and just even as a home. And it's a fixture in Albuquerque, especially in the Old Town area. But we're going to go to Chimayo. Is it Chimayo? Chimayo. See here, this is why we do these podcasts for me to be corrected. Chimayo. I'll get there.
It sounds like a dance.
Chimayo.
Let's do the Chimayo.
Say it. Yeah, I know. We've got Ernesto Quintero. Now I'm going to say it all wrong. Ernesto, help me.
Chimayo. No, it's cool.
Stop
Chimayo.
it.
No, I like it. It sounds like a dance. Sounds like
you say Chimayo and I'll say Chimayo.
Chimayo. Yeah.
Ernesto, welcome to the show. Ernesto and his wife Renee, and also innkeeper Kim Sanchez, run Casa Escondida. And so you can go to casaescondida.com, and this is an award-winning bed and breakfast in northern New Mexico. What you're about, a 30, 40-minute drive from Santa Fe, Ernesto?
From Santa Fe, we're 30 minutes.
So you're just up the hill. Yeah, beautiful area. I don't know if we've actually been to Chimayo. I don't know. Nancy, we have to go, because
you guys will have to
obviously
come to
didn't
Casa
stop.
Escondida for sure.
Casa Escondida. So what is Chimayo like a village? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so one thing just to mention is that we're very new owners, right? So we just took over this very beautiful, very special property, Casa Escondida, and the woman who ran it before us had it for 20 years. And then there was a woman before her for 10 years. So it's been a B&B now. It just turned 30, and then we took over in February. So I mean, I'm getting to know the area. I mean, as a tourist and visitor, I came to Chimayo many times prior to owning Casa Escondida. But so yes, Chimayo is a really small town. Some people call it a village, but very, very little place. And really, the thing that it's, the most kind of famous for is that there were a lot of weavers here in Chimayo, a lot of
Oh.
artisans. And so
Ah.
that's kind of some of the history. And then I think the thing that really put it on the map is the Santuario de Chimayo, which is right like 5 minutes from us. And that's, I don't know if either of you are familiar with it, but it's a really sort of sacred space to many people. And they have a huge pilgrimage that happens in, the springtime near Easter. So yeah, it's a very special place.
That is why I've
It's-
heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's supposed, isn't it a place where you can go and it can heal physical and spiritual problems,
Yeah.
whatever you're dealing
Yes,
with?
Yeah, the sort of, the stories are that the dirt here is very powerful. And,
Huh.
like historically, I think, of course, there were native people here long before the Spaniards and,
Yeah.
Catholics came. But essentially, they talk about the dirt being very healing. And so people will go to the sanctuary and, gather dirt. And like you said, for physical or spiritual ailments.
That's amazing.
Whether you are religious or not, it is a must-see place because it just is. You can sort of feel the energy. You know what I mean? When you're standing there, you can feel how much people really love that place.
There
And
is
that's, like I
something
said,
about
about
the
5
dirt,
minutes from us.
though. That's about the dirt. I mean, there is something about the entire state.
Yeah.
The natural, wonders are amazing, but there is something about the dirt and the colors, how it changes, and it's like it's New Mexico. The land of enchantment is the land of enchantment, and the only way you get it, really, we can all have the best photographs in the world.
You gotta
But
go.
going there is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And what I find really fascinating is, you've got like Santa Fe, and here's all the history. You've got Silver City down, and the Gila cliff dwellings. You've got all this ancient history, and at the same time, you go to Albuquerque, and you've got Route 66 history, modern history,
Right.
pop culture.
Yeah.
Yet you've got Old Town. And so I want to go to you, Kathy, about that, because these are two completely, both your B&Bs are historic, completely different in architecture. Yeah, you're near the Old Town, yet Route 66. It's like it's kind of, you're sitting at the crossroads of history, and I think where the B&B
Exactly.
is.
Yeah, exactly. And actually Albuquerque is much older than people might think. Because the founding via was here. They had an entrada, basically a wagon train that came down from Bernalillo, which is actually older, in 1706 and established the Via de Albuquerque. So it's the original founding settlement. However, there were Native Americans living here long before that. And so there are some ancient Pueblo sites around Albuquerque, and ancient roads as well. So and Albuquerque actually is also a modern crossroads for many people, since we have two interstates that intersect, and it's we have the large airport, so it's a major crossroads in the Southwest.
It really is, and you're right off the interstate. 40 and Route 66 history, like I was saying, it's and Route 66 seems to really be popping back up so strongly.
It goes through cycles. For a while, it was Asia. People from Japan and China were just infatuated with Route 66. And then Europeans for a while. For some reason, we had a whole bunch of Italians. Must have been some TV show or something going on. They just became fascinated with Route 66. So at one year, we actually had, I looked out over into the parking lot and saw all of these little Italian sports cars that they had shipped their Italian sports cars over to the United States.
Wow.
And were driving the entirety of Route 66.
Wow.
And I happened to see them out there. So I went out and talked to them. They were sitting out in the parking lot here at Old Town, and talked to them about what they were doing.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
cool.
But there is something about like the Great American Road Trip, and whether you're overseas or here, you have to experience it once. I mean, that's a bucket list for many people. And Route 66 is like, we're going. and going through, New Mexico is, even if you're off the route, right? It's still like I mean, just with Nancy and I traveling full time and not being in the Southwest, it's a it's a very different thing. Where we lived in the Southwest and in California, Southern California, and the desert Southwest for so much of our time. It's very different to not be around it and to understand just how starkly different, and like the enchantment, when we talk about that word enchantment, the land of enchantment, it's true. I mean, when you see the hoodoos and like if you go to Shiprock or all of these places, it does kind of bowl you away, because the rest of the country is a whole different, it's so different.
It's
And
like
when
a
we think
different
about,
country.
and the Southwest history is ancient. I mean,
Mhm.
it's ancient, and ceremonial sites like you have in your backyard with Petroglyph National Monument. You've got Bandelier up, up by
Yeah.
you, and it's there's so much. And then you've even got the Enchanted Circle. I mean, you guys
Mhm.
have so much in New Mexico, and I'm kind of homesick now. Just every time you guys come on the show, every time we do this, I start missing the Southwest. But I wanted to go to you, Kathy, again. Like right now, we're getting into fall. What's your garden like? How? Because I know you have a certified wildlife habitat through the National Wildlife Federation, because you care about birds. And so, what's it look like at this time of year and going into fall?
Well, I have, we still have hummingbirds here until about the 20th of September. They're fairly consistent. They arrive April 20th or thereabouts and leave around the 20th of September. They're pretty consistent that way. So we still have hummingbirds. We've got nuthatches, ladderback woodpeckers, all kinds of finches, goldfinches. That will change a bit come later fall and winter, where some of those will go a little bit south. So we still have all of those summer birds around. Not so much blooming now. Some things are still blooming. Salvia blooms all summer long until it gets frosted. So the hummingbirds and bees and butterflies and all that are loving those. So things.
I always forget that you guys get frost and snow. We always think of the
Well,
Southwest. It's a
we
hot
do.
desert, right? But you do, and it's beautiful.
There's a difference between desert and high desert.
Mhm.
Desert, you might think more like the rolling sand dunes and white sands and all that stuff. Some people think desert is just sand and nothing else. Except for like white sands, New Mexico is high desert. We have a lot of plants and things. And of course, the more water you have, the more variety and the more plants you have. But high desert is high altitude, so some things grow real well here and some things don't. But Albuquerque is pretty moderate, pretty temperate. We do get freezing weather in the winter for maybe about 3 months, and we get a little snow, but not much. But enough frost and freezing to turn the trees color. Oh, cottonwoods. Oh my goodness. The cottonwood trees turning golden. If you go up on Sandia Peak or have anywhere to look down on the river, it's just a whole horizon of gold along the Rio Grande River, because the cottonwoods all turn gold.
Isn't the Bosque, it's Bosque, right?
Yes, the Bosque.
I'm going to talk to Steve. We got to do a show just on New Mexicoisms.
Oh,
because
so nice.
serious, because just so I can fix myself. But Bosque, because I want to say Bosque, but it's Bosque del Apache. We went there. Okay, let's not figure out when we were when, because it doesn't work. But it was summer, and we saw tanagers, we saw all kinds of water birds, but not like we weren't there with the spring and the fall. But isn't that a big birding thing in the fall? Like, I mean, don't the trees change there too in that area for people?
All along the Rio Grande, and it's huge for birding because the Rio Grande River is a migratory flyway all the way up through the state, and actually then traces all the way up into Colorado. The Rio Grande River starts in southern Colorado, but the flyway keeps going above that. But since there's access to water, the birds, just millions of birds along the way. And then the sandhill cranes winter over along the Rio Grande River. So we even have places where they winter over here in Albuquerque, The famous place, of course, is the Bosque del Apache, where they are there all winter.
That's cool.
Wow,
I
this is
love that.
amazing. I know, and everyone, we will talk about food. We're not going to eat the birds landing in the Rio Grande either, but we are getting there. But if Kathy's on the show, I have to ask her about birds. I mean, that's like the
That's
norm here.
fascinating
But
too.
we're gonna go to you, Ernesto. What's going on at Casa Escondida? Because like the grounds look beautiful. I mean, you really got that.
Can you hear me there? You still got me?
Yeah.
Both battling rural
All right, I
America.
know we're out here in the swamp and we're talking about the Bosque del Apache, and I somehow our recording thing just did that little. We went into the swamp, but we were talking with Kathy about all the birds, and we want to go over to Ernesto talking about what is happening at Casa Escondida. And I want to say Escondido because we used to live in Escondido, California, but it's Escondida. But Ernesto, tell us a little bit about just the grounds, because it is very southwestern looking. When you go there, it's very all the adobe fields, and it's beautiful. So tell us about the grounds.
Yeah. So like I was saying, we have 6 acres, and you're right, it's just filled with, lots of trees and some. We have right now, what I'm noticing because of the rains, we have the monsoon rains. We are getting a lot of just like wildflowers, that just kind of pop up. I don't even know all their names, but there's the real tall ones that they're tiny flowers, like yellow. They look like a sunflower, but they're smaller. And we have lots and lots and lots of the wild sage that sometimes people think is lavender, but it's actually a wild sage that gets the purple flower on it. So that's a lot of what you'll see. Even there's one road in, when you're coming, there's 2, depending on which direction you're coming from, there's 2 or 3 roads that you can get into Chimayo. And anyway, there's one that you can come up when you're coming up from Santa Fe, where it's literally like the side of the highway, but the entire, like, I don't know, for like an acre or something is just these wild yellow flowers. And it almost looks like when you're driving up, it almost looks like a little yellow lake or something. I mean, it just goes on and on. So, and I'm sure you see this in Albuquerque too, but the sunsets right now are like just incredible. I mean, the yellow and purple that are, in the sky, and we're getting all these thunderstorms, they're rolling in for like 15 minutes and then they'll roll out. But it's really beautiful. And then we've been very lucky to have lots of stars at night because it's very, very dark in Chimayo. There's almost no lights in the evening.
Nice.
Wow.
So you really get that peaceful, quiet, sort of stargazing moment.
That's nice. And how many rooms do you have? Was it 8 that I was reading?
Yeah, we have 8. We technically have 9 because we do have one overflow. That's a room that's attached to our residence it's separate. It's like a separate wing that you can enter separately. So we do use that to take us to 9, but mostly it's an 8-room inn. We have, it's 5 in the main house, and then we have a little casita, and then we have 2 little rooms that we call garden rooms. They're sort of more like motel size rooms that are out like right outside of the main house.
So Kathy, for you guys, how many rooms do you have? I mean, because how do you describe the architecture for Bodker Mansion?
It's the Bodker Mansion is actually an anomaly in New Mexico architecture. The house was built in 1912, and Eastern architecture was all the rage for new homes in Albuquerque. So it's an American 4-square.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
it's cool.
There was a brief period of time in the popularity of American 4-square. They're awesome houses, but basically it's always a 2-story house and basically 4 rooms over 4 rooms. So the main floor has 4, and then upstairs another 4, and usually with a central staircase. And it has some interesting architectural features to it, but it doesn't look like many other houses in Albuquerque. Certainly not New Mexico. It's not the Pueblo Revival style.
Yeah, I was going to say, not what you think of when you think of Albuquerque architecture at all. I happen to live in California in a 100-year-old American 4-square. So my wife and I have a big appreciation for old homes, and we haven't been to yours, but the pictures, it's on our bucket list.
Oh, well, come down
Cool.
and stay with us. We've actually
And,
stayed at Casa Escondida, and it was
Oh, with
lovely.
Belinda.
It was
Oh,
lovely.
yeah, I bet she was a
Yes.
wonderful host.
Yes, and we got to stay up there. Actually, it was an interesting time during the pandemic when all the innkeepers, I mean, business was way off and we needed to get out of our own houses. So some of us would go and stay with other innkeepers and just say, I have to be somewhere besides in my own house. So we went up and stayed with Belinda for a couple nights at Casa Escondida, and it was lovely. And it must have been summer. I think it was July, because the hummingbirds were all over that courtyard, and it was just really, really nice.
We have bird feeders out there, and you're right there. I still don't know the names of all the birds, but I know we get some ones that are a little bit larger that are blue, and we definitely get the hummingbirds. And then there's some much smaller bird that I believe has a little yellow. You might know the name of it, but they are just crazy on that back courtyard. They love it.
Probably goldfinches.
And you know what?
Goldfinches. Yeah.
You know what?
And
I
bluebirds,
didn't know about New Mexico as somebody who didn't live here, or northern New Mexico. I didn't realize there are so many fruit trees. Because in Chimayo there's so many fruit trees. I had no idea.
So here's my chance to talk about that as far as fall flavors in New Mexico.
Yeah, it's gonna go. We're gonna get on track now.
Right, because New Mexico, actually, a lot of people don't know, produces about 20% of the entire U.S. pecan crop. So it's one of our, and in 2006, New Mexico was the largest pecan producing state in the country.
Wow.
And that's we're usually competing with Georgia, of course, and Texas. They're also large pecan producers, but we also have all kinds of fruit trees, especially apples and peaches and things like that. So we do have a lot of fruit trees here.
Yeah.
And grapes.
When in the summer, I was like, wait, there are a bunch of peach trees out. And, when we were driving, we were exploring, between Chimayo and Taos and, down the other direction towards Santa Fe. And then I was talking to a local person who's lived here forever. And she was like, yeah, we have peaches. And, I think most people think of peaches, not, this isn't the first state that they would think of. So it's great information to know. I was happy to be able to pass that on to some of the guests because they loved hearing, what grows here.
It's because it's always thinking about, like, when we lived in Arizona, everybody thought like Arizona was a pile of sand with a Gumby cactus, the saguaro cactus, a Gumby. And it's not.
And a big canyon in the middle of it.
Yeah, don't forget the big canyon, the big hole, But
nobody could forget the big canyon.
That's right.
But really New Mexico, I mean, the biodiversity is amazing, and the soil, I mean, the soil and how it changes, that is part of why fruit trees, I mean, they're hardy, and you have that frost, and that's where, it's just always, I have to remind myself all the time. So when does chili season start, Kathy?
Oh, chili season is in full swing. Chili season can start as early as the end of July, but typically in August. And every grocery store and every little market in town has a chili roaster out in the parking lot. And back in the day, of course, somebody had the idea to make holes in a 55-gallon drum and put it on a turner, like a barbecue spit, and throw flame into it and blister the chili skins off, because the chili skins need to be blistered.
Before they can peel.
If you're going to eat the chilies fresh, you have to blister the skins, and then you have to peel them off. But the smell of roasting chili all through the city is just amazing. It's one of the iconic smells, aromas of New Mexico, is roasting chili.
And it's such a unique smell too. I mean, you can't, once you know that that's what it is, it's like that's the minute you smell it, it's fresh roasted green chili, right? Mostly, right? Yeah. My I think I may have mentioned this before, but how we ended up here is that my wife's maternal side of her family, her grandfather's from New Mexico. He was born and raised here, and he had stories. And her mother had stories of because he was the only sibling who left, right? The rest of them all stayed in New Mexico. he joined the service and ended up in California. But every year in August, my mother-in-law's birthday is in August, but every year in August, he would drive out. This is like long before they now, of course, ship these chilies all over the place, right? But he would come out and get from his brothers and drive back a truck full of green chilies that he would then do exactly what Kathy just mentioned, which is that he would build his own roaster and then roast them in the backyard so that it would be like he was home. And he taught his wife and all of his children how to peel them. And it's something that we've continued to do every year in August. When we're in California, that's what we do. Is we order sacks and sacks of them, and then we keep them and freeze them so that particularly my sister-in-law, who's the main cook of the family, will cook all of the recipes all year long for the whole family. But you're certainly right. That smell is like nothing else.
I'm glad you brought up the smell, because that's really when it goes to taste. If to not have smell, it really affects your taste. We have a friend who's a blind musician, and he talks. He had a brain aneurysm. Joey Stuckey, look him up. He's really an amazing musician, and he said so his aneurysm took out his sense of smell.
Oh no!
And
wow.
Yeah, but so his food, and he loves food, but it affects what he eats, and we don't realize it. Just all of us are like, hey, but how important that sense of smell is. Realtors put freshly baked chocolate cookies in a house for a reason.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is a reason. So smelling the chili, it's interesting right now where we are is in North Carolina. So it's not the same as New Mexico, but we're on a farm, and I go out and harvest chilies, and it's a whole other thing how everybody wants different chilies. These are getting roasted. It's like, whoa, I had to go back to chili school, and I'm in North Carolina going, okay, New Mexico, Arizona, it's different, but the chili thing, it seems like, where we are on the farm, they are like, we need to dry roast them, and they're turning it into powders. They're doing like, this is, you don't just have fresh chilies for chili relleno. They want their chili relleno, like the chilies need to be red for this kind of thing. So Kathy, do you see that happening in New Mexico too, where this is being turned into seasoning? You don't just eat them fresh all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the longer we go and the more people get adventurous with what they want to eat and have different flavors, then the more producers and the manufacturers experiment with things. So you can get a very fine green chili powder, which you can add to things to accentuate the green chili taste. Let's see, and places, where do we get these from? Trader Joe's, I think. Trader Joe's carries local stuff.
Oh, wow.
So Trader Joe's carries a blend of Hatch, New Mexico green chili seeds and flakes. So like if you go to the grocery store and you get red pepper flakes, well, this is from Hatch chilies, both green red and red and green. So you can add that to things.
That's what I use in chili all the time. I use hatched green
Kathy,
chilies.
You might know the name of this, the name is escaping me, but I know when I was at the Santa Fe Farmers Market, there was at least 2 different stands of people who, like you said, they did certainly have some fresh stuff, but they had a whole line of things that had been turned into. I was actually just telling somebody about it yesterday. They had like a little shaker. You know how like people would put certain seasonings on their popcorn and stuff? They had a shaker that was a blend of different chili mixes, and you could pick how hot you wanted it to like shake on your baked potato or your popcorn or whatever. And I know out here, one of the things, red chili from Chimayo is a big thing, and you can get it in all different forms, but one way is the very, very fine, and then we bake sometimes with it. We'll put it in a chocolate like cake kind of thing, like a muffin, and it's like so it has like a hint of chili and cinnamon, and we call it like a Chimayo chocolate muffin.
Ooh. Yeah, our house specialty cookie recipe that I developed is it's a double chocolate chip. So it's a
Ooh.
chocolate
Yeah.
dough with
Mhm.
chocolate chips in it, but it also
Mhm.
has chipotle chili in it.
It's
So
so good.
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
chipotle
Seriously,
chili is just a
like,
smoked
dude.
jalapeno in adobo sauce. And
Nice.
I do buy those canned, and then I throw them in the blender, 2 cans at a time, and then I put them by 1 tablespoon measures into an old ice cube tray. So I have chipotle chili on hand all the time.
Oh, all
But you
year.
don't
Such a good
overdo it, which I
idea.
think is so
No,
amazing. See, that's the
no,
thing,
we
like,
do
No,
have to,
it has to be
no,
a bit
we have to
balanced, right?
back it off
yeah.
a little bit, because people not from here are not quite, first of all, they're not quite used to the concept of having chili in something chocolate or something sweet.
Mhm.
And then also, they're just not used to the level of heat. And of course, and I
Mhm.
find even with myself, the older I get, the less heat I can
Oh, yeah.
tolerate. So, yeah, so got to back that off a little bit. So just,
We always
keep,
say you can add more, but you can't
Mhm.
take it away, right?
Right,
Right,
You can add,
exactly.
you can.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, but
because it is.
it's the.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna
Oh,
say
I
it
was just
just
gonna
is
say that.
different with everybody's different, and this is a new way of eating. When you
Mhm.
think about
Yeah.
you go in the South, they use a lot of spices too, but they're completely different. How they're using
Hmm.
chilies here and what happens in New Mexico are it is just different. And I can't explain it. I don't know if it's the humidity. I don't know what it is, but it's two different things. With New Mexico, there's this, like if you have hot chocolate with chili in it. It's like this whole other, I mean,
Mhm.
I'll never
Yeah.
forget the hot chocolate. It wasn't even, you don't even call it, it was like drinking chocolate. It's like more Spanish, I think. And they
Oh,
It's like
put,
a Mexican
oh,
sipping chocolate.
oh
Mhm.
my God, I will save the world. I had that. It was in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I know they had
Oh,
all
did you
these
go to
like,
Cacao?
yes,
Yes,
I became
Cacao.
Rambo.
That's what
Yes.
they specialize in,
Ooh,
Central and South American drinking chocolate.
ooh,
Hmm.
And it's like Turkish coffee. You get this little bitty
ooh.
cup, and it is so concentrated, but it's fabulous. And yes, they have probably about a dozen different blends that you can pick. Some of them have some orange in them, some
Oh,
have more cinnamon, but one of theirs has chili in it, and it's
oh, and
really
it
Hmm.
amazing.
it is euphoric. Honestly,
Mhm.
Nancy, if we could just have that every time I do cross country driving, I'll be fine.
Uh-oh. We'll
You
get there
know,
so much faster.
listen,
Oh,
Coca-Cola doesn't come anywhere close to
No.
this.
Oh no.
okay, so
Coffee,
that being
this is,
said, so Coca-Cola and all those sodas that have caffeine in them, which is addictive. Um, a lot of people don't know that chili, the plant, the peppers that we eat, it actually has addictive properties to it. So
well,
the
I'm
more
okay with that.
the more you
That's a
eat,
healthy addiction.
The
yes,
more
the
you
That's a
more
want.
you
good
eat,
addiction.
the more you want. And it also has as much or more vitamin C than oranges.
Yeah,
Oh,
wasn't that interesting? Yeah, I just
Yes,
recently
that
read that.
is.
I didn't know
yes.
Really?
So it's addictive and it's really good for you.
I'm happy.
that.
That's about the first thing I've
Finally.
ever heard that's addictive and good for you. I love this.
Mhm.
So when you think about it, do you ever put it in coffee?
Hmm.
The chilies?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't you put like a little like you guys
You
have
could do
I
that.
know there's something about B&B coffee to me that's just
Yeah.
there's when you're in a B&B and you wake up in the morning, there's the coffee is part of it. Is some places everybody's different. It could be
Yeah.
not the grind so much or the beans as much as the ambiance. Every B&B is completely different.
Yeah, we have
But
a little bit of cinnamon that I guess years and years
Hmm.
and years ago there's a particular style of coffee that I don't know if Belinda inherited from the person before or if she came up with it herself, but she left the recipe for us and people rave about it. I actually don't drink coffee, but they just go crazy for it.
listen, Ernesto,
And
what
I
is
think like
wrong with you? Excuse me, you do not drink coffee. I don't know if we can have you on this radio
I
show
don't know if
anymore. I'm just
that's
kidding. I'm
kind
just
of
kidding.
you won't
I'm
be happy
messing with
with all the things that are addictive that I don't do.
Oh, okay. Well, it's okay. But coffee is important. I'm just kidding. This is the only way
But
I'm nice
I
to
do love the
people.
flavor of coffee. You know, I
Mm.
mean, you earlier you were talking about the idea of smell, and the other thing I do and have done is own restaurants. And the reality is that, how you're saying that people eat with smell, a lot of restaurants actually time exactly when they're going to have specific things that are very aromatic being done in the restaurant to encourage that sensation, that response from you, right?
Yeah.
So, if the ice cream place wants to sell a lot of waffle cones, they make sure that they're made
Maple
at the time
syrup.
when most people walk through the door, and just all of that there's messaging, right? There's messaging and smell. And I think with B&Bs, coffee is a big piece of that aroma when you come downstairs or, walk in.
Cinnamon is good. See, the cinnamon.
And even if you don't drink it, believe me, you want to smell it.
But cinnamon is part of New Mexico, I think, just as, chili is always a big conversation thing, but cinnamon, from what I've, just living in Mexico, cinnamon was a huge part of food. Cinnamon, almonds, Kathy, what do you think on the cinnamon part?
Well, it is a part of our culinary repertoire. And I think that's more from Mexico than New Mexico.
Yeah.
But certainly made its way here. It's one of the classic, coffee, chocolate and cinnamon. I mean, whoever came up with that was a genius. So, and then we add chili to it. So that's the thing. Sometimes we do get the questions of, is there anything that New Mexicans don't put chili in?
Right. Probably not.
Probably, I think, they've got red chili wine and green chili wine, and you can make there's ice creams and all that with
the Diablo
chili in
ice
it.
cream.
That's really good too.
There's like a very dark chocolate that you can do with a chili, and you can do it as ice cream. And if you want to make it vegan, there's a sorbet way that you do it without dairy. And I think
that's
people
cool.
love those combinations. But you know what? It's interesting. You were saying before, the other thing that's so special about New Mexico is the way that these three distinct, native Mexican and Anglo flavors really melded and sometimes into recipes that sort of take on their own thing, like, as a Chicano from LA, Mexican food in Southern California, very different than New Mexican food, right?
Hell yes, completely.
The influence is just completely different. But you do have some of those base properties because of the Mexican influence, right? But then Southern California, we don't have as strong as some of the native flavors that stayed really prevalent in New Mexico. So I think it is one of the pieces that make it so unique.
And even with the pecans, you were talking about pecans earlier.
I was going to say that.
Or pecans, I don't know which one to say. But all I know is, like, when you start going east of Texas, they say it's a pecan, because otherwise you're talking about peeing in a can. So we can't pee in a can. So it's pecan. It's like Appalachia. They'll throw an Appalachia if you don't say Appalachia, But the pecan thing, when you're back in the South, in the Southeast, the pecan thing is like, this is like the sweet stuff that's coming in. Like, it's soup, like
the praline.
Praline, praline.
But
however,
you can have chocolate pecan pie with a dash of chili in it.
So I want to know, because I remember in New Mexico that there were pecans, excuse me, that were also more of on the spicy salted side. It wasn't always used as a sweet thing. From, I don't know where I was, but we did get pecans that had more of a salty, kind of savory flavor.
Right.
I don't know where.
But I think I see that a lot. I think that is kind of a distinctive difference between the way that they eat pecans in the South. Thinking about pecan pie, it's like all pecans and lots of sugar. And here, not quite so much. Maybe more of the just roasted pecans with maybe not so much sugar. So Steve makes talking of chilies and pecans,
Ooh.
one of our favorite dishes, particularly in the winter, is waffles with an apple and green chili compote, mascarpone cheese, toasted chopped pecans,
Oh my
and a
gosh.
brown butter syrup.
Are you kidding me? Why
No,
are you
no.
doing this to me, Kathy? This is
Sounds
cruel.
amazing.
Why?
It
No.
sounds
Okay.
amazing.
Okay, Ernesto, what's going on with you with pecans? Like,
Well, I was going to say that the pecan thing that we've come up with is sort of a combination of something I did in one of my restaurants, and then also sort of taking in some of the New Mexico elements. So this will be our first time because we weren't here in the fall last year, but we're going to do a pumpkin pancake that has we're going to take pecans that, like you said, are more on the savory side, but they're sort of like a sweet savory element because they have like a red chili powder. You dust them in like a red chili powder, so you get the savory, and that's the topping for the pumpkin pancake. And then we want to do an Alapo honey syrup for it. So that's our take on bringing in the New Mexico pecan piece of it. But we love the idea of the sweet savory. And, I think you were mentioning that, if you compare it to the South, where the pecan thing is very, very sweet, no savory. I wonder, in terms of the influence of Mexico, because nuts are used in many savory dishes, right? I mean, even mole, right, which is a very famous, but it's nuts and chocolate, but it's more savory than sweet. And so I've noticed that when I'm eating in New Mexico, that even the things that are sweet often have a savory element to them.
It's really fascinating when you get into food history, even just Louisiana there. If you go in the South, or not even the Southwest, it's like the Western, if you go from Southwest Louisiana, from like Lake Charles all the way up to Shreveport, just on the coast, it's an area called the No Man's Land. That was the biggest portion of the Louisiana Purchase, and they didn't have anyone rule them for 3 years, no law and order, which is so cool. But it was just like this cool thing that happened, and everybody got along. But
Wow.
some of the Southwest, because of the size of the Louisiana Purchase, you think about the original day, it touched into New Mexico, Arizona, I mean, all the way to Tubac Presidio, right? It's insane how big the Louisiana Purchase was, and the Spanish, the Native American, all these. I mean, Kathy's got, is the Santa Fe Trails near you both, right? So all these trails and these trading routes brought things like in Louisiana, there's a place called Zwally, and they're known for Zwally tamales in Louisiana, but they're more Native American style, not Mexican, right? So but they had Spanish influence, and so it's really fascinating. And I think New Mexico just really, it's one of those states, when you go to New Mexico, you are in New Mexico. You cross over the border immediately. Louisiana's like that. New Mexico
visually.
is,
Visually, because there's no landscape like that, right? They're just when you see those rock formations, visually. But I think also, like you said, the food. My son now feels really upset that all restaurants don't just give you sopapillas, right? As he's spent more and more time in New Mexico, he's like, why doesn't everyone do this?
I agree with him, by the way. Yeah. Well, I want to go to this too about New Mexico. We always talk about when you order, is it Christmas? Do you want the red and the green, right? So the green is tomatillos, right? So it's not green chilies. I just wanted to touch base on that because
there's not. No.
No. Green chili is green chilies.
It's green. Yeah.
Yeah. It's when you say red or green, it is for sure the green chili or the red chili. If they're serving something that is tomatillo, they're going to tell you they're going to call it tomatillo sauce. They won't call it green chili sauce.
Because it's authentically always going to be chili first. Like that's the king.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because that's interesting. Because you would think, because you don't get the green chili like if you're in California, right? And if it's green, it's going to be tomatillo normally. Like if you have chili,
like if you're in California and you heard somebody say, do you want green for your enchiladas or green on your tamale or something? It's usually a verde sauce, which you're right is mostly going to be tomatillo.
Tomatillos.
Unless it is someone who somehow had a New Mexico influence, or it was a specifically New Mexican restaurant. And that is something that's very unique about New Mexico. You walk into New Mexico and almost everything is actually green chilies, unless they specifically say it's tomatillo. And Kathy, what do you think? I have not seen, I've only seen tomatillo at a few places, but mostly I don't see it at restaurants.
Pretty much. I think that, like you said, the tomatillo, if that's what it is, they say specifically. So there is a saying in New Mexico, comida sin chile no es comida. So a meal without chili is not a meal. And the really, really old families that have been here for generations, they literally have a bowl of red and a bowl of green on the table with every single meal. And that is a bowl of green chili and a bowl of red chili, so that people can add it to whatever they're eating as they want to.
And chili does not mean chili with beans. That's the other thing.
No. That's if
If
you say chili here, it's not the like chili. If you say
like
chili
cowboy
in
beans.
Texas, it's chili con carne, so it's got meat and beans and stuff in it. If you say chili in New Mexico, it better just be the chili.
We have to do this show on New Mexico lingo. We have to do it, because it is really like this whole other language, right?
You could do a whole show just on New Mexico language about food.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That's true too, right? Yeah, because the food is different.
I find it interesting too, like for instance, and I know you guys mentioned that you were both from Southern California or spent time there at some point. So here, I don't know if you've noticed this on the menus, if they say flauta, it actually, as a person from California, that would mean a flour tortilla, right? But here it actually means a taquito, like it's actually a corn tortilla. So that's just an interesting thing. And then if they say,
but it's still rolled, right? A flauta is still rolled.
It's still rolled. It's basically what you would think of as a taquito in California, but they call it a flauta, but it's with the corn tortilla. And then they also, the stacked, right? Like the stacked enchiladas is very New Mexican, right? Versus the rolled ones that you would normally see.
I remember Nancy looking and going, what's the, because even when we lived in Mexico, is south of Ensenada. And so we were still Baja California cuisine, and even Arizona, New Mexico. Even if you go to a Mexican restaurant for Mexican food, you're now having a different, you're having a different menu because of where people, just like in America, California is not serving pecans the way that they do in the South. It's just two different things, right? So just like we're talking about New Mexico pecans versus, so it's regional cuisine. And so it depends on where people came up from and who's opening the restaurant, where they came from in Mexico. Let's get Mexico straight from New Mexico. So I remember we were in Payson, Arizona, and someone made like fried ice cream. It was the best thing on the planet. I've had it in Arizona, but never in California for some reason.
It's rare. It would be rare to see it.
But it's so good. How do they do it? It's like baked Alaska. You made it happen. It's like the best thing on the planet.
You were mentioning tomatillos earlier, and I haven't seen it a lot in New Mexico, but it is because I'm from California. I think it's something that I have cooked with a lot. And one of the things that we're exploring for the fall is to do a sweet potato breakfast quesadilla that will have a tomatillo sauce on it. And we'll see how it goes, because like I said, we'll definitely have green chili to add if somebody wants to, because just like Kathy said, you have to do it. It's a must. It's a must condiment. But I love the flavor of tomatillo with sweet potato and a white cheese. And then, at breakfast time, you'll add, like the scrambled egg in there, or you could do a fried egg on the side and put the green chili on that. But the taste of sweet potato and like a white jack cheese and tomatillo is a very nice flavor.
Wow.
What's the difference between jack cheese and is it cojita cheese? The
cotija cheese?
Oh, the Mexican cheese. I think there's a definitely different taste, right? And often a different texture. I think that it sort of, as it
one's
melts,
like kind of like
it also
crumbled,
has a slightly different
like
texture. If you're doing the crumble, it'd be totally different, because that would almost give you the texture of like a feta, right? Like the crumbled Mexican cheese. It's a really, and it's not going to melt in the same way.
But what's
So
making
usually it would be like a
the jack
crumble.
cheese actually into a sauce? You just add more milk or cream? Because like the white cheese sauce that we've had, like it's
Oh, do you mean like when people do queso? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, like it's different than here's a melted jack cheese that's stringy and fatty and whatever, but there's
Yeah,
this white cheese sauce that is the perfection of the gods that when you
yeah. Like
have it,
there's a
it's
definite,
yeah,
there's a creamy, because it's more, you're making more. It has a roux feel to it versus just
Mhm.
like
Well,
melted
that's,
yeah,
cheese, right?
yeah, because you start
So it's
like
creamy
that.
versus greasy.
Yeah,
yeah.
you start with the roux and then you
I would like
slowly
it
Yeah,
add the
now.
milk. Yeah,
I would like
and
it
the
yeah.
now,
cheese.
please. I would
I
like
can make it.
I
I
would
can
like it
make it.
now.
I could make it, but you have to pay me.
Okay,
Yeah.
Kathy, what about squash? Does squash, I know we've talked about blue and cornmeal before being a big part of New Mexico cuisine, but what about squash? Wouldn't that be a big deal too for New Mexico?
Squash is, and you were talking about the different cultures that we have here. The Native Americans, um, like the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center has a really great restaurant here, and they focus on more of the traditional Native American foods, and squash is definitely one of them.
Hmm.
And you can go with both the winter squashes, which are the harder ones. Here for breakfast, sometimes we make calabacitas.
Mm,
Oh
Um,
yes. Oh,
we
that's
use
delicious.
a mixture of yellow squash and zucchini squash, and then and fry that up, saute that with some slivered onions, and throw a little green chili in it, and
of
throw some
course.
corn in it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So
Oh,
calabacitas.
oh, wow,
Delicious.
wow.
And do you serve it with your eggs, or is that the way
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do
We
it as like a
well,
side?
we make a green chili quiche, and when we're
Oh
serving
yeah.
the calabacitas with the green chili quiche, we don't throw green chili in the calabacitas because
Right. You don't
um,
want to overdo it.
you don't want to go overboard on the green chili, even though some people are fine with it, not so much. But if we're just making scrambled eggs or something else, sometimes a savory casserole that can handle a side of calabacitas with green chili in it.
It's such a beautiful side, right? I mean, a potato, of course, is always nice, but the calabasitas really adds so much
Mhm.
color to your plate.
And you can also throw in like halved cherry tomatoes towards the end of
Hmm.
cooking that. So they're still a
Little
little firm, but they add a
caramelization.
nice red color and a little bit different flavor to it.
Mm.
Hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to back off and
Nice.
say, what is a calabacita for those who don't know what we're talking
Oh,
about?
it's just Spanish
Because
for squash.
like, so what, like you, like any kind of squash, like would like a butternut or anything like that, or is that too heavy?
I don't know. Maybe Ernesto would know more about that.
Well,
I don't know so much about the Spanish
usually
words
the
for it.
main thing is, yeah, you need to have the zucchini, the squash, some kind of squash, and then the carrot, and so that's
Oh,
one of the things that it's really well known for is that it's a way for you to have a vegetarian option, right, with Mexican
nice.
food. And sometimes, they'll refer to it like Three Sisters, and but
Mhm.
it's basically like she's saying, I've seen it done with many different, I don't think I know the original squash, but I've seen it done where people will mix in whatever squash they have.
Mhm.
And it's often, sauteed with garlic and onion, olive oil. And then here, of course, the green chili. But yeah, if you weren't in New Mexico, it would mostly be corn, zucchini, and one of the squashes. Could be the spaghetti
Oh, so it's
squash,
almost
one of
succotash.
the
Like
winter squashes.
in South
Yeah,
Africa, we
yes,
had
yeah, that's
sampan beans, and samp was like
Mm.
maize, like toothy maize, right? So you had that toothy chew, and
Mhm.
then you'd have some other like beans in there, whatever, and then there would be some kind of squash. Sometimes there's a squash out there called gem squash, which I
Mm.
still really miss. But
Yeah.
there's like different squash, and that would be like your side dish. I mean, any time of day. And tomato, like you
was the
said, I
bean
grew up with
the
that.
like lima bean, or what bean did
Some
they do
people
in
did
that?
that.
In the
Well, you know what? There was all kinds of different ones. Pinto,
Oh,
little
interesting.
The
beans were always a big
pintos
deal. Yeah,
more.
pinto.
Pinto.
I mean, I didn't even know
Oh,
that they
uh-huh.
were called pintos until we got to this country. And
Yeah.
I think your New Mexico does good on pinto beans too, as far as I was looking
I
on
think New
agriculture.
Mexico is the largest producer of pinto beans in the country. Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
See?
I didn't know
Go
that.
New Mexico. Don't mess with New Mexico, man. Let's just say it. Like, listen, it's got
Peaches
now,
and
okay.
pinto beans. Wow.
And yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, pecans, you got pinto beans, pecans, you got chilies, you got,
and pinto
and
beans are
and
way better than lima beans.
Santa
Oh,
Fe
yeah.
has
Oh
a
yeah, I think so
there's a
too.
Yeah.
margarita trail in Santa Fe. So like that's something. So a margarita in New Mexico, right? So everyone, there's a typical margarita, right? The normal signature thing. Like here it is with fresh lime, please. But when you think about martinis can change according to seasons and what cocktails or what liquors you have and things like that. So would margaritas change at all, or is that the
Well,
Santa Fe
this,
Trail? I mean, are margaritas a big deal in New Mexico, or is it
They
just me?
are, and you
I
can
I
have
think
as
they
many
are. Yeah.
different variants of
Because
margaritas as you
tequila is
do
a big deal in
people.
New Mexico.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
there's strawberry
So do you
margaritas, there's
put
all
like,
kinds
yeah,
of
chili
different, yeah.
peppers and things like that in there? Like,
Prickly
They
pear
well, they're
margaritas
sort
are
of like
really
the
good.
spicy.
Mm.
They
Hmm.
don't they do the spicy ones, right? That kind of have I maybe think it's more like a paloma, where they put the spicy edge, on the rim, and it's like I think they use
Hmm.
grapefruit sometimes instead of lime. But I know in the summer I've seen a lot of people do mix in like watermelon into a margarita
Hmm.
as a summer thing. I don't know what I'm not sure I do know what they do in the fall. I mean, unless maybe there's like a cranberry element.
I've
That'd
had
be good.
cranberry margaritas and prickly pear,
prickly
jalapeno,
pear is
yeah.
good.
mango margaritas. You can make a
Ooh.
margarita with just about any flavor.
Mhm.
Don't make it
It's
too
like a green
sweet.
chili.
The basic ingredient, of course, is the tequila, and of course there are like
Sure.
what 300 different varieties of tequila.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you can get all of these amazing different profiles. So you've got the silver ones and the gold ones and
Mhm.
all that. But yeah,
Oh,
you
now
can
I'm
get
homesick.
practically.
I'm coming. I'm coming back. I'm
You're
coming
coming back, okay?
That's it.
Wait,
But no,
I don't know
but
a
it's a
lot of
big deal
I don't know
on
a lot of bed and
margaritas.
breakfasts that are doing margaritas in the morning. Or do you guys do margaritas in the morning?
That'd be cool.
Are
Margarita
we doing
mosas.
Well,
margaritas? No.
Mm.
Margarita
no, we
mosas.
don't either. But yeah, it's not something I've seen at bed and breakfasts very often. Although I did go to a restaurant one time where they made it was their version of a they called it a morning margarita, and it was sort of like like a champagne orange version, but it was tequila instead of champagne. So that was, I think it was just their way of getting more
I think that's
margarita
hard.
sales
Don't you need a
before
liquor
noon.
license for that? I think you need a
Yeah.
liquor.
Oh
Yes.
I don't know.
I think you do.
Yes.
Oh, that would be
Yes, you
rough.
do.
That's a pain in the butt. But
If you're a
there's
restaurant and you have a liquor license, then you're good.
yeah.
You're good.
Well,
Yeah.
he's a restaurant guy. Hook everybody up in New Mexico. But but there is something about the tequila and the margaritas. The prickly pear. When you said that, I think it's really important to really go to the right place to get it. Don't go to I've had a really bad experience with prickly pear margaritas because it was
Mm.
not fresh. Let's put it that way. There's like
Oh,
the sweet sugary mix thing. There's about New Mexico. When you go to New Mexico, typically you're going to have a real margarita made with fresh limes
yeah.
and things like that. And so prickly pear margaritas, when they're done well, are this amazing balance of not too sweet, and it's perfect. I mean, when it's
Mhm.
perfect, it's perfect. So just watch out for you know what I mean, those other places. Get it right, because otherwise it's
Yeah,
like
you want it
candy.
fresh.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
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 stay away from that other
Yeah.
stuff. This
The
stuff
Yeah,
is
you
when
want you want it made with the fresh fruits and with
yeah,
with a house
because
made
if it's
simple
not,
syrup.
it's just like, here's your candy and a shot of
Mhm.
tequila, and I mean, maybe that's fun, but it's not as good. And New Mexico, I've never had a bad margarita in New Mexico, and I've been to some dive bars in New Mexico because listen, dive bars in New Mexico
Okay.
are cool because they have good stories in them. Like Billy the Kid has been in here and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
honestly, dive
Awesome.
bars in New Mexico, there's a whole other like there's history in those old saloons. I encourage people to go to old saloons, you know, be careful, but you know, I haven't had any problems. You just go in and there's always history in those saloons, you know, the old ones, and go enjoy. I mean, the margaritas, I've not had a, you know, a bad margarita, like I said. That, and if you eat meat, a roast beef sandwich with some green chilies is not a bad deal either. I'm just saying, it may not be a fall thing, but like you were saying earlier, Ernesto, you know, New Mexican food, if you're vegetarian or vegan, you can go to town in New
Yeah,
Mexico. You can
there's a lot
seriously,
of good
you can,
options.
yeah, even if you're celiac, I mean, I know that as bed and breakfast owners and innkeepers, you all have to be aware of everyone's dietary
Right.
issues. And
Yeah,
I know it ranges from, we're on keto, so we want all high
yeah.
protein, to, you know, everything you can
It
imagine
that's
you
the
deal
fun
with.
part when you have you know, whatever your 20 guests or whatever, and they're all very different, right? Like that, I think that is
That's a
you
challenge.
know, if there's a challenge there, right? Because you know, and you're trying to accommodate a big range and still make sure everyone feels well fed and satisfied.
Do you
And
feed
yeah,
everybody at one time, or does everybody have different times?
well, the way it is here is that coffee's ready at 7, and then breakfast is served between 8 and 9. And as of right now, we just let people sort of show up anywhere within that, and then serve them. And that's the way Belinda did it. And so we've sort of just, you know, held on to
Yeah,
that. But there has
adopted
been
into it.
some talk about it might be easier to maybe know when they want to come. But so far, it's that's what we're doing. I don't know. Is it
I
different
don't
for you
know how
guys in
you all do it.
Albuquerque?
I give hats off to you. Yeah, Bodger Mansion. How all I know is it was delicious. I can't remember if we had to show up on time or not.
We do the same thing. Our breakfast is between 8:30 and 9:30. Coffee's on around 7, but we have coffee available 24/7.
That's nice.
So yeah, and people just, if they show up between 8:30 and 9:30, it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Honestly,
Same. We just
we
sort of
just
give
finished
the range.
another insit, and all I can
Yeah.
say is, no matter what, our hats are off to innkeepers around the world, across the country. Thank you for what you do, because the attention to detail is unsurpassed. It is amazing. And to get breakfast and everybody's dietary restrictions and issues, and you make people feel at home in your home, and just go to lengths that I just from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you, and appreciate you. And we know how hard work it is, and that's why we'll never
Yes, we
be
do.
full-time innkeepers. But we appreciate it. We really do. It's extraordinary, and you develop relationships with guests that come, and you know, and vice versa. And it is, you know, as we all travel, we don't need to have the same typical box rooms. We can do
Hmm.
these amazing, unique experiences where you're connecting with people, not just on a phone, right? In a text
Yeah.
message, where
Yeah.
there's full conversations, where innkeepers tell you, hey, you're looking for this. What experience do you want? Hey, we know somebody who just took this path and they saw a bear. If you want to see a bear, maybe you'll have that chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
we had, you know, as new innkeepers, I'll say that it's been really two things. One is when we did the first announcement, you know, when Belinda sent out with her last sort of announcement to her, you know, newsletter, to her mailing list announcing us, we had such just a huge onpouring of congratulations and welcoming. And it was like
That's
we were
cool.
entering this community that really already existed, and they were just throwing their arms open. And it was really special. And also to see the outpouring of love that they had for her. And so many, I mean, I can't even tell you, weeks and weeks after the newsletter went out, and I was then now the person receiving the answers and hearing, you know, the stories that they had and well wishes for her and her retirement. And we recently had, just this past, like, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, we had some people who come out for the opera every single year. They've been coming for like 12 years, and they stay every year. They book their 5 nights, you know, of their shows, and they stay at Casa Escondida. And they were telling us all about how, you know, how special it is for them, and how much it means to them. They look forward to it every year. And I think you're right. It really is very different than just, you know, like a motel or something. That not that there's anything wrong with motels, but just that it was a different experience, and that they
it's a
really
very
love
personalized, immersive experience. And
it.
we've watched people make friends. And Kathy, I mean, what was it like for you and Steve when you first opened the inn? Like, you know, took over, and just here we are. And you know, it's scary, right? But at the same time,
It was terrifying.
I bet.
scary.
No,
But you have to remember,
terrifying.
everybody's human beings, right?
I
don't-
Big.
we did some
unless you grew up with
ins-
unless you grew up with parents who are running a bed and breakfast, I don't think there is any way in the world that anybody would know how this works.
Yeah.
Well, we did some in sitting, and we thought, okay, we could do that because we've been to a lot of B&Bs, over 30, 40 B&Bs in 1 year, I think we did once. And
Oh my
so we
gosh.
thought, okay, we get this, we know how it rolls. And then all of a sudden, here we are, we had some instruction, and then the owners left, and then the next morning I stood in the kitchen
Hashtag
and
holy
went,
crap. I'm just gonna
"Holy
say the honest word
crap."
thing.
then I just kind of stood there and went, what the heck?
Where?
And then you had to get busy and cook for all these
You had to
people.
get over it.
And one group all came in at different times, and then the next day everybody arrived at the same time. I was like, I have gray hair now. Thank you very much. No,
But Kathy, I
seriously.
mean, was that for you guys? I mean, just the breakfast,
Oh
and
my
then having to
God.
have the rooms like spotless by the time
Oh.
people check in. I mean, it's just the attention to detail and
It's
the
amazing.
care, because it is care. You know, it's care for
Yeah.
the history of the property and the house and
Yeah.
the guests. And you guys are truly some of the best ambassadors for communities
Mhm.
ever. So I just, you know, and Kathy, you and Steve took good care of us and put up with us.
Mhm.
So you get
Mhm.
extra awards for that.
Oh, thanks so
because-
much. Thanks so much. It's we've been doing this for 18 years now.
Wow.
Wow.
And
Amazing.
it's like
How?
we still are working on it. It's a work in progress. It's one small. My goal when I started, I said, I want to improve one thing every single day. Besides my all the other work that I have to do, improve
Right.
one thing. And
Mm.
that has worked.
Wow.
And because
cool.
sometimes your
That's great
progress
advice.
is measured
Yeah.
by tiny little steps. If it's
Right.
as simple as I need to put a label on that, so
Mhm.
my housekeeping staff understands where this is, or sometimes it's major, like I have to go in and paint that room today, or something like that. But one improvement, one change every single day will get it done. And sometimes it's just it's slow, and always have a plan B and a plan C, and sometimes a plan D.
No, exactly.
That is the motto of every
Okay,
small
so
business
what
owner,
do you
right?
do for breakfast? Steve was out of town, so I was handling the whole B&B by myself.
Yikes.
What do you do for breakfast when you discover that your electric oven element literally died in the middle of baking your casserole?
No.
Yeah, so
Oh my
that's
God.
why I said you always have to have a plan B and sometimes a C and a D as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. You know, for us too on the road, and that's great
Yeah.
advice, though. I love you to
Yeah,
close the show off
great
with
advice.
that. I think as we go into the fall season,
Mm.
you know, we start getting into that hibernation mode, which is a thinking mode. We're planning for the next year. We, as
Right.
human
Mhm.
beings, we are little animals. We do that. We're like bears. We're gonna,
Little
you know.
animals.
And then fall is about let's feast. Like, and then winter, then we feast even. We're naughty. We're very bad over these next few months, and then January comes. We're like, you know. But
Work it off.
really, but as we go into these seasons, they're contemplative. You know, we've been off everybody, you know, summer, everybody's had this great go out, let's do travel. It's open again, you know, it's been very exciting. And I want to encourage people that fall, go on these shoulder seasons, go in September, go in October,
Mhm.
November, even over the
That's a
holidays.
beautiful time
Come
to
on,
go.
this is the good
Beautiful.
time. And
Yeah.
bed and breakfast, as I know, sometimes you can rent the whole B&B for your family,
Mhm.
which is
Mm-hmm.
sometimes better than doing the vacation rental where everybody complains about someone's cooking. I'm just saying.
Hello.
So, so I'm just saying,
That's funny.
sometimes a B&B is a good option for those small, intimate events, family gatherings and things. So, and when you go through winter, think about it. Have those meetings when you can sit in a B&B, a historic home, and play a game of cards, read a book,
Mm.
have those down moments where no one can tell you what to do. Take it, do it, own it. Where most remote, how many people are working remotely? Hey,
Yeah.
you can work anywhere, most B&Bs, depending, where you are. So it is just, this season is changing, but your advice, Kathy, is amazing about improve one thing a day. If we could do that,
That's cool. I like
I'm
that.
going to take that advice in the kitchen.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that.
Mhm.
If I can do
It
one
is.
thing better in the kitchen,
It's
just go back to those fall flavors. If I
it's
could
such a great.
learn,
It's great advice.
You're going to clean out
right?
that cabinet that you've been avoiding for 5 years, right?
Yeah, well, mine is,
Well,
I have to go harvest peppers tomorrow, and I will learn my improvement tomorrow is wash your hands before you rub your eyes.
oh yeah, that's a big
Oh
one.
yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
that's my
You'll
my
you'll only
improvement.
have to make that mistake once, right?
Yeah.
You earlier you said
Well,
something about New
maybe.
Mexico. Earlier you said something about the smell of New Mexico, right? The
Yeah.
roasting green chili. And right now, as you're talking about fall, winter, for me, one of the first time as a visitor to New Mexico, the smell I fell in love with, I came in the winter, and the fireplaces, the way
Oh, yeah.
that the Kiva fireplaces with the piñon, I mean,
Mhm.
that is New Mexico to me. I
Hmm.
mean, it is
Mhm.
That's
the
cool.
best, most soothing, comforting. I mean, nothing feels more relaxing to me than sitting in front of a Kiva fireplace in the crisp evenings, or for us
It's
when the snow is
romantic.
falling.
4:30.
Yeah, it is the place to
They
be
come
with
in.
your family, with your spouse. I mean, by yourself. It's just such a nice. It's just a
Awesome.
beautiful New Mexico thing.
Perfect way to close this conversation.
Mm.
We've gone to overtime. We've been bad children. Thank you so much, both of
Uh-oh.
you, for joining us.
Well,
Ernesto, Kathy, everyone, botker.com is the website to go to. So it's BOTTTT,
Mm.
BOTTGER. So Botker Mansion of Old Town Albuquerque. Go see Steve and Kathy. Go see Ernesto and his wife Renee, and also innkeeper Kim Sanchez. Go to casaescondida.com. And really, go to New Mexico, go to this website so you can find innkeepers across the state of the land of enchantment. Go to nmbba.org. We're here talking with innkeepers every second Thursday, finding out what's going on in New Mexico and getting really hungry. So thank you all for joining us for today's show.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
All right, guys, that was good. Gracious hosts, unique lodging, and tasty cuisine. New Mexico bed and breakfasts are New Mexico true. Our innkeepers are as special as New Mexico, and we're sharing their stories. Read about them and plan your trip at nmbba.org.